You wanting to feel a bit more fearless? Well, today I'm going to talk about this. And if you stay until the very end, I have an extra point for you then as well. Before we dive in, I want to mention that if you want to connect with me more, you can find my social media links in the show notes below. Or just type in Johnny Pardo into most platforms. I've learned this saying from my mentor. There are no fearless people. There are people, though, who fear less. I'll say that again. There are no fearless people. There are people who fear less. And what that means is that as human beings, we've all got fear built into us. That's what makes us human. It keeps us alive. There's never a point I've learned in my life that I'm going to have zero fears, because I used to be like, oh my God, I'm like terrified of speaking in public in front of people, or what are people going to think? And then I worked through that. And guess what? I still had fears in other things, right? Or other situations. And fear has been something sometimes that really impacted me mentally. I remember just like not wanting to go to social events at school because I was so fearful, right? So it can impact me. And now I'm at a point where I go into socials and I can enjoy them more. And I don't feel so fearful. I fear a lot less than I would have used to in the past. So ask yourself this: how can you really benefit by being kept in fear? Probably not so good. So I really want to talk about some points on how you can work through fear today. So the first one is remembering what you've overcome. We're often like, oh no, I'm just a fearful person. Yet we forget the things we've overcome, which we're fearful of. Now, sometimes we didn't have a choice. We had to overcome those fears, right? Now, I see a lot of people in business going like, oh, I've got to have sales calls. I'm fearful of that. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to find another way, because they got a choice, right? And then they're like, nah, actually, I'm going to close this business down, right? They made a choice. However, you may be in a job or have been in a job and you're like, right, someone made you do something you were fearful of because it was your job and you had to, else you may have been on the warning or got fired, right? You overcame a fear there because you had to. Maybe it's part of your job. Maybe in school you had to do something you're fearful of. Or maybe there's a situation when you're forced to. So just think of all the times when, or maybe you did voluntarily do something that you were fearful of. So just reminding yourself, writing down, taking 5 minutes, getting a pen and paper, old-fashioned way, and then writing down some things that you've overcome through fear, because, and then really connect to that feeling every single day. I would say at least for a week, because then you can really connect to that courage within you. The next point, break it down. If something's really fearful, break it down into small steps, right? So for me, public speaking, I was terrified of speaking in front of people. So I just spoke in front of a group of a few people, and then a slightly bigger group, and then more, right? It doesn't have to be a massive jump into something. You're scared of heights. Maybe you don't go up to like a 10-floor building at the start. Maybe you just go up one floor. That's a silly example, but just breaking down your fear as much as possible. And then when you do it, you're showing yourself you can overcome a little bit of fear, and then you can progress from there. And then the third point is absolutely essential. Celebrate any little step you take in overcoming fear, because the more you celebrate, the more you're going to want to do something. And that is an awesome achievement. And spend some time scheduling in that celebration every single day. Okay, I've got a final point I want to share you. It's a really good one that's really worked for me. I want to mention again, though, just before we close off with that point, that if you want to connect with me more on social media, you can find my links in the show notes below. So my final point is see and feel the results in advance, right? And what that means is the brain does not, it's been said many times in personal growth, but I found it very much to be true for me. The brain does not know the difference between fake and reality when you practice it enough. Or rehearse it. Rehearsing when you practice something and then you celebrate and feel good about it. So if you like keep seeing yourself, like you want to talk to someone, have a conversation with someone, very nervous, maybe it's someone you like, maybe it's your boss, whoever it is. So maybe, well, not necessarily that you like your boss. Maybe you want to talk to your boss about a hard conversation. Maybe you do like your boss. I don't know. Anyway, right, whatever it is, right, imagine you're talking to someone you like. Let's use that example. All right. And you're like, right, I need to go up and tell them or talk to them or ask them out for a drink or whatever. Right. And you think, right, okay. And you think about it and you play yourself getting that result again and again in your mind. Your students start to believe or get closer to believing that you've done it. Now, you've of course actually got to take the action, but that's going to build a lot more confidence inside yourself as a result. So, and that can really mentally like do a lot of good for you when you keep seeing things and overcoming them, because often what our brain does is it defaults to the negatives. What's the worst case scenario? And that actually really impacts our mental health, I found as well. So keep seeing the results in advance and practicing them again and again, even if it's just 5 minutes a day. So that's what I got for you today. I appreciate you for being here. You're awesome for being here. And remember to lead with your heart, not with fear.